Hi there. I'm very excited about my guest, but before I get to my guest, I have a little message from our sponsor. Hi there, Sam Sorbo here. You've heard me say that if you send your kids to school, you're allowing the internet access to them. When you give your child a phone, you're not giving them access to the internet. You're giving the internet access to them. But there's a way that you can mitigate for the dangers that implies, and that is with the Canopy app. I've talked to the people at this company, and they have your child's best interests at heart. They screen images that come through on the phone, and they blur out the sections that you don't want your kid to see. They actually can, in real time, prevent sexting and other things that happen with phones. And so I would encourage you to take a look at Canopy and use the code SAM at checkout for a special discount. Thanks so much. Bye. All right, and welcome back to the Sam Sorbo Show. I'm back with my guest, John Stamper, who has written this fabulous book, Conflicted. And this is like a confessional of somebody who went 13 years teaching in the public school system, the last of which was rife with issues. But he was telling us about how he grew up and how his current situation at the time when he was still in the schools, he's since resigned, conflicted with the way that he was raised. So take it away.
Sure. So I was raised in a Christian home in rural Indiana. My parents were new Christians around 1985, the time I was born. And in our small town of Indiana, my older siblings were in the public schools, and I was too young to begin. But right around the early 90s, our public school system had a tradition of allowing groups from the community into the school to give their spiel, their presentation. The 4-H Club, Boy Scouts, and the Gideons were one of those groups. They would come in and distribute Bibles to fifth graders, anyone who wanted one. And this was a tradition that the school wanted. But one parent sued the school corporation, citing, separation of church and state. It went to court, and the court sided with the school system, saying, hey, the Gideons can still come and distribute Bibles. Then it went to the Indiana Supreme Court, and it was overturned, which meant that the Bibles could no longer be distributed. So this is what prompted my parents to pull my siblings and me out of the public school system. They were new Christians, wanted to give their kids a biblical understanding, a biblical foundation and background. And it was a difficult thing for them because they're just your average folks. My dad was an iron worker. My mom was a stay-at-home mom.
They were pioneers. This was unheard of. You're doing what with your children? Why would you ever do that? Now, just to be clear, you weren't in school yet because this was happening. It wasn't actually personally affecting your family, or did you have siblings that were sort of personally affected by this particular decision?
I had 3 older siblings that were in elementary school at the time, and I was probably 4 or 5 at this time. So I wasn't yet in the system. So my parents decided to make that decision and pull us out to homeschool us. This is early 90s. So homeschooling is even less popular than it is now.
Yes.
And my mom decided to write a letter to our small town newspaper, a letter to the editor, kind of citing, her stance on, the letter was titled, "Lack of Bible Leads to Moral Decay." And she cited all the issues in society of divorce and depression and suicide and this and that, and how, they were happening along with the removal of the Bible and the 10 Commandments. Well, it turns out that my mom's letter to the editor got picked up and was published in the Associated Press, coming out of New York City, a national publication. And she didn't know that until the Maury Povich show called and invited her and my dad onto the TV show. They were like, "You sure you got the right people? Why are you calling me?" And then they found out that the letter got picked up somehow. And then the Phil Donahue show called, and they invited my parents onto the show to kind of oppose Madalyn Murray O'Hair. Now, if you don't know Madalyn Murray O'Hair, she was the president and founder of the American Atheists, the largest atheist group in America. So my parents prayed and decided, I think this is where the Lord wants us, and they were obedient. They went out to New York City. They appeared on the Phil Donahue show, and they were debating Madalyn Murray O'Hair. My mom and dad, just regular folks from Indiana. And, during the taping of the show, Miss O'Hair was saying, Christians really haven't done much for society. They really hate me. The Christians don't like me. Just kind of bad-mouthing Christians. And then at the very end of the show, my parents were the last to speak. And if you know the show, like, people can call in, ask questions. Members in the crowd get to stand up and ask a question. So he introduced my parents, Phil Donahue did, and right away, my dad stood up and spoke to Miss O'Hare and said, you know, Miss O'Hare, I'm a Christian and I don't hate you. In fact, I love you. And Jesus Christ loves you. And it became an opportunity for my dad and my parents to share the gospel on national television.
Hi there, Sam Sorbo here. As you've probably noticed, YouTube has been very busy censoring the content that I produce. So I encourage you to please join me over on Rumble. You can subscribe there and get up to date with everything that I'm putting out there and sharing with our larger community. Please join me on rumble.com. Thanks.
1, 2, 3, 4.